Chosen one, you just broke every spell, every curse and every false prophecy that has been put over your life. This was a calculated spiritual coup that you executed with precision that would make master strategists jealous. Right now, something has shifted in the spiritual realm that your enemies didn't see coming. But you were never the prey in this scenario. You were always the predator, and you've been playing the long game while they were focused on short-term attacks. Whatever was bothering you, whether it was something specifically targeting you, a person working against you, an entity that thought it could attach itself to your energy, or generational patterns that have been choking your family tree for decades, it stops with you. You're standing there minding your business, and somebody hurls this massive boulder in your direction. They calculated the trajectory, they put their full spiritual weight behind it, they aimed for maximum destruction, because they knew that if they didn't stop you now, you would become unstoppable later. You have something they never anticipated. You have a spiritual mirror, but this isn't just any reflective surface. This is a divine weapon disguised as a defensive tool. When you hold up this mirror, and that boulder hits it, something extraordinary happens that reveals the true magnitude of your power. The mirror doesn't shatter like they expected. It doesn't even crack. Instead, it begins to stretch backwards like elastic. But here's the part that will make you understand your true nature. The mirror isn't just absorbing their attack. It's studying it. It's analyzing it. It's learning everything about their spiritual technology so it can send back something 10 times more devastating. You are a walking mirror. You are a spiritual alchemist. You are divinely equipped not just to survive attacks, but to transform them into fuel for your advancement. Every curse they send becomes a blessing in your hands. Every spell they cast becomes a stepping stone to your next level. Every false prophecy they speak becomes evidence of their own spiritual bankruptcy. Now let me reveal something that's been hidden from you about the true scope of this battle. This isn't just about recent attacks or current enemies. What you just broke has been operating against your bloodline for generations, and here's why that matters more than you realize. Your victory doesn't just free you, it retroactively frees everyone in your family line who came before you, and everyone who will come after you. Your ancestors have been fighting this same spiritual enemy for decades, maybe centuries, and they couldn't break through because the appointed time hadn't come yet. The spiritual technology wasn't available yet, the divine backing wasn't fully activated yet, but you were born in the fullness of time with access to spiritual weapons that previous generations could only dream about. Every limitation that stopped your grandparents, every ceiling that contained your parents, every pattern that repeated through your family tree, every curse that seemed permanent, every prophecy that predicted failure, all of it was building up to this moment when you would rise up with enough spiritual authority to shatter it all at once. You weren't just born to break free from these patterns, you were born to weaponize the breakthrough and use it to launch your family line into a completely different dimension of blessing, favor, and supernatural success. The spirit of fear that has been your family's constant companion for generations just got evicted with extreme prejudice. But understand what this really means for your future. Fear wasn't just making you afraid. Fear was acting as a spiritual governor on your engine, limiting how much power you could access, how fast you could move, how high you could rise. It's like spending your whole life behind the wheel of a Ferrari, but the engine's been capped at just 10% of what it can truly do. All that power, precision, and potential held back, barely tapped into. You thought that was normal speed. You thought that was the vehicle's limit. But when fear gets broken off your life, it's like someone removes all the restrictions and you suddenly realize you've been sitting on top of supernatural horsepower that you never knew existed. Every time an opportunity came to step onto a stage, to speak your truth, to launch your business, to write your book, to start your ministry, to build your empire, fear would whisper lies about your inadequacy. But fear knew something you didn't know. If you ever operated at your full capacity, you would be unstoppable. Your whole bloodline was afraid because they sensed the magnitude of what was possible, and that magnitude was terrifying to contemplate. But you're different. You're the one who was born with the spiritual backbone to handle the full voltage of your divine assignment without being overwhelmed by its intensity. You haven't just been surviving these spiritual assaults, you've been unconsciously collecting them, storing them, and now you're about to understand how to alchemize them into the very resources you need to build your empire. Every boulder they threw at you that you thought was just causing damage was actually raw material being delivered to your spiritual construction site. Every curse they sent that you thought was just creating problems was actually providing the energy you needed to fuel your next breakthrough. Every spell they cast that you thought was just making life difficult was actually supplying the spiritual intelligence you needed to upgrade your own supernatural abilities. You've been like a spiritual recycling plant, taking their trash and turning it into treasure without even realizing what you were doing. But now that your eyes are open to this process, you can do it deliberately. You can actually look forward to their next attack because you know it's just more raw material for your advancement. This is why they're starting to panic. This is why their strategies are backfiring. This is why their coordination is falling apart. They're beginning to realize that attacking you isn't weakening you. It's making you stronger, richer, more powerful, and more dangerous to their agenda. What you're experiencing isn't just personal breakthrough. You've actually activated a cosmic legal process that operates according to universal law. When they decided to attack someone under divine protection, they unknowingly filed a lawsuit in cosmic court, and that court has just ruled in your favor. Universal justice doesn't operate like human justice. It doesn't take years to process. It doesn't require lawyers or appeals. It doesn't give second chances to those who deliberately harm the chosen ones. When cosmic court rules, the judgment is immediate, comprehensive, and irreversible. Divine bailiffs are serving spiritual eviction notices. Karmic accountants are calculating compound interest on spiritual debts. Universal enforcement officers are executing judgments that will redistribute everything your enemies tried to steal from you, with additional compensation for damages. Every curse they sent is being returned with interest. Every spell they cast is boomeranging back with multiplied force. Every false prophecy they spoke is manifesting in their own lives instead of yours. What they tried to do to you is now happening to them, but worse, because cosmic justice always overcompensates in favor of the wronged party. If you felt the truth in these words, hype this video so more chosen ones like you can see it. The beautiful irony of this whole situation is that your enemies are destroying themselves while trying to figure out how to destroy you. Their collaboration has turned into competition. Their alliance has become animosity. Their coordination has collapsed into chaos. They're now spending more energy fighting each other than they ever spent fighting you. They're saying things like, "I thought you said this would work. I thought you said they would break. I thought you said our combined energy would be enough." They're blaming each other for the failure of their spiritual technology. They're questioning each other's loyalty. They're suspicious of each other's motives. Meanwhile, you're operating from a completely different frequency. You're not even thinking about them anymore. You're not monitoring their activities. You're not concerned about their next move. You're focused on building, creating, expanding, and manifesting the vision that was always meant to be your reality. This is the ultimate power move, becoming so secure in your divine protection and so confident in your spiritual authority that your enemies become irrelevant to your daily experience. They're still obsessing about you while you've moved on to obsessing about your purpose. Now that the spiritual fog has cleared from your perception, you can see the bigger picture of what's been happening all along. You have a spiritual sight that operates like cosmic radar, detecting threats before they fully manifest, identifying opportunities before they become obvious, recognizing divine appointments before they're scheduled. This isn't just about being psychic or prophetic. This is about operating with the spiritual intelligence that allows you to stay 10 steps ahead of everyone who thinks they're playing chess while you're playing four-dimensional cosmic strategy. You can see when people are operating from jealousy disguised as friendship. You can sense when someone's energy is off, even when their words sound right. You can feel when negative energy is being directed toward you, even when it's happening in secret. You can discern when someone is speaking blessings with their mouth, but cursing you in their heart. But you don't just see the attack coming, you see how to redirect it for your benefit. You don't just detect the negative energy, you see how to transform it into positive momentum. You don't just recognize the enemy's strategy, you see how to use their strategy against them. With fear destroyed and spiritual interference eliminated, you now have access to energy reserves that have been locked away your entire life. This isn't just about feeling more motivated or having more confidence. This is about operating at your full spiritual capacity for the first time in your existence. You wake up in the morning with supernatural energy. You approach challenges with divine confidence. You see opportunities where others see obstacles. You make decisions with clarity that comes from having direct access to infinite wisdom. You move with the momentum that comes from being aligned with cosmic purpose. This is what happens when all the spiritual restrictions are removed from your life. This is what it feels like to operate without spiritual interference. This is what it means to function at your full capacity as one of the chosen ones. Every project you touch turns to gold. Every relationship you invest in multiplies your joy. Every business you start exceeds your projections. Every dream you pursue manifests with supernatural speed. Every word you speak carries creative power. Every step you take is ordered by divine intelligence. In the few days you're going to see physical evidence of this spiritual victory that will confirm everything I've been telling you. The breakthrough that happened in the invisible realm is about to manifest in the visible world in ways that will surprise even you. You're going to step onto stages you never thought you'd have access to. You're going to speak with authority that commands attention from people who used to ignore you. You're going to launch initiatives that succeed beyond your wildest expectations. You're going to receive recognition that validates what you've always known about your calling. It's not just about you finally getting what you deserve. It's about the universe making a public statement about what happens to people who attack the chosen ones. Your success becomes a warning to future enemies and an encouragement to other chosen ones who are still fighting their battles. People who knew you before this breakthrough won't be able to explain the transformation they see. They'll say things like, "Something is different about you. You carry yourself differently. You speak with more authority. You move with more confidence. There's a light around you that wasn't there before. Remember when I told you at the beginning that you broke every spell, curse, and false prophecy projected over your life? Now you understand that it wasn't just about breaking free from something. It was about breaking through to something infinitely greater. The mirror that reflected their attacks back to them has now become the lens through which you see unlimited possibility. The spiritual sight that detected their interference has now become the vision that perceives divine opportunities. The energy that was released when fear was destroyed has now become the fuel that powers your supernatural advancement. You didn't just survive spiritual warfare. You didn't just overcome generational curses. You didn't just break free from limitations. You weaponized the entire experience and used it to launch yourself into a dimension of existence that your enemies could never touch because they don't have the spiritual clearance to operate at your level. You are free, but more than that, you are dangerous to every agenda that opposes divine purpose. You are protected, but more than that, you are a protector of others who are still fighting for their freedom. You are blessed, but more than that, you are a blessing that multiplies wherever you go. But let me break down exactly how you accomplished what seemed impossible, because understanding your methodology will help you recognize when you're doing it again. The spells that were cast against you weren't just random negative energy thrown in your direction. These were calculated spiritual formulas designed to lock you into specific patterns of limitation, failure, and frustration. Every spell has a spiritual frequency, like a radio station broadcasting limitation directly into your consciousness. For years, you were unknowingly tuned into these frequencies, receiving transmissions that told you who you couldn't be, what you couldn't do, where you couldn't go. But something shifted in your spiritual receiver that changed everything. You didn't just turn off their broadcast. You hijacked their signal and started transmitting your own frequency back through their network. Every spell they cast became a pathway for your blessings to travel. Every curse they spoke became a highway for your favor to manifest. Every false prophecy they declared became a launching pad for your true destiny to explode into reality. This is why they're so confused right now. They're still broadcasting on the same frequency, but instead of limitation reaching you, abundance is flowing back to them in reverse. Instead of failure programming your mind, success is reprogramming their reality. Instead of confusion clouding your vision, clarity is exposing their strategies. The curses that were spoken over your life weren't just negative words floating in the atmosphere. They were spiritual contracts written in the realm of the invisible, designed to legally bind you to outcomes that contradicted your divine destiny. Any contract written against heaven's chosen ones without proper authority becomes null and void the moment the chosen one awakens to their true identity. You didn't just break these contracts. You invoked a spiritual clause that reversed the terms and conditions. Everything they tried to bind you to is now binding them instead. Every limitation they tried to place on your life is now limiting their own advancement. Every restriction they tried to impose on your success is now restricting their ability to prosper. This is spiritual jujitsu at its finest. You used their own force against them. You redirected their own energy to accomplish the opposite of their intentions. You turned their weapon into your tool and their trap into their prison. When they spoke poverty over your life, they unknowingly wrote themselves out of divine provision. When they declared failure over your future, they prophetically sealed their own defeat. When they cursed your relationships, they contaminated their own connections. The universe operates on a principle of perfect balance, and when someone tries to tip the scales against divine order, the scales automatically correct themselves by overcompensating in the opposite direction. The false prophecies that were spoken over your bloodline weren't just incorrect predictions, they were deliberate attempts to rewrite your spiritual DNA and alter your divine programming. These prophetic declarations were designed to override heaven's original blueprint for your life and replace it with a counterfeit destiny that would keep you operating below your true capacity. But false prophecies have a fundamental weakness that your awakening consciousness exploited perfectly. They require your agreement to maintain their power. They need your belief to sustain their influence. They depend on your acceptance to continue their manifestation. The moment you stopped believing in their version of your future, their prophecies lost all spiritual authority over your reality. You didn't just stop believing in their lies, you started believing in truth with such intensity that it created a spiritual shockwave that shattered every false prediction ever spoken over your life. Your faith in your divine destiny became so powerful that it retroactively cancelled every prophecy that contradicted heaven's original plan for your existence. This is why your breakthrough feels so complete, so final, so irreversible. You didn't just overcome a temporary obstacle, you permanently deleted false programming from your spiritual operating system and restored the original divine software that was always meant to run your life. What you accomplished doesn't just affect you. The spells, curses, and false prophecies you broke were connected to a vast network of spiritual bondage that extended throughout your entire family tree. Every limitation you shattered created a ripple effect that traveled both backwards and forwards through your genetic line, liberating ancestors who died in bondage and protecting descendants who haven't been born yet. Your victory became their victory retroactively. Your breakthrough became their breakthrough across time. Your freedom became their freedom beyond the grave. You didn't just save yourself, you saved your entire bloodline from spiritual patterns that were designed to repeat indefinitely until someone with enough spiritual authority stood up and said enough. This is why your transformation feels so profound, so life-changing, so historically significant. You're not just experiencing personal breakthroughs, you're experiencing a generational breakthrough. You're not just changing your own trajectory, you're changing the trajectory of everyone connected to your DNA. Your ancestors who died without ever experiencing the fullness of their divine potential are now celebrating in the realm of the spirit because their unfinished business got completed through your victory. Your descendants who will be born into your liberated bloodline will never have to fight the battles you just won because you already conquered those territories for them. Understanding what you just accomplished reveals something crucial about your spiritual evolution. You've graduated from spiritual basic training and been promoted to general in the army of divine purpose. You're no longer someone who needs protection from spiritual attacks. You're someone who provides protection for others who are still learning how to fight. Your mirror doesn't just reflect attacks back to their source anymore. Your mirror has become a strategic command center, that monitors spiritual activity across multiple dimensions. You can see attacks being planned before they're launched. You can detect curses being crafted before they're spoken. You can sense false prophecies being written before they're declared. This advanced level of spiritual intelligence means you're now operating in a completely different category of spiritual warfare. You're not playing defense anymore. You're playing offense. You're not just protecting your territory. You're expanding your territory. You're not just maintaining your freedom. You're liberating others who are still in bondage. Every spell you break doesn't just free you. It creates a weakness in the enemy's spiritual infrastructure that other chosen ones can exploit. Every curse you reverse doesn't just protect you. It establishes a legal precedent in cosmic court that other victims can reference. Every false prophecy you destroy doesn't just clear your future. It creates a pathway for others to escape their own prophetic prisons. Hey, this is Mike Inari, cutting into your regularly scheduled Chosen One programming for just a moment. We are the founders of the Obsidian Inner Order and the Astral Atom Network. And we're done playing nice. We're in a spiritual war. You know it, we know it, and we're out here bleeding for this mission full time. I'm hungry for fourth-dimensional Archon blood, but we need the ammunition. So listen, when you join the Inner Order, you're not just supporting us, you're getting access to exclusive tools they never wanted you to have: psychic self-defense training, targeted individual intel, spiritual warfare tactics they scrub from the internet, and every week, we meet in secret, chosen ones only on Zoom, no filters, no fluff, just real gnosis, real family, real power. It's a 360-degree win. You get what you need. We get to keep fighting. So don't just watch. Drop a like. Share this video to everyone you know. Now, and join the Obsidian Inner Order. Let's finish what we started. Link in the description. Let's freaking go. The most powerful aspect of your breakthrough is the frequency transformation that occurred in your spiritual broadcasting system. You were unknowingly transmitting on frequencies that attracted spiritual interference, but now you're broadcasting on heaven's exclusive channel that only carries signals of blessing, favor, and supernatural success. This frequency shift explains why your entire experience of reality feels different now. You're not just thinking different thoughts or feeling different emotions. You're literally tuned into a different spiritual dimension where the laws of limitation don't apply to your existence. People who operate on lower frequencies can't interfere with your signal anymore. Their spiritual technology isn't compatible with your new broadcasting system. Their attacks can't reach you because they're transmitted on frequencies you no longer receive. Their curses can't affect you because they're spoken in languages your spirit no longer understands. This is why they're so frustrated with their inability to influence your life anymore. They're still using the same spiritual methods that used to work, but you've upgraded to a completely different operating system that renders their outdated techniques completely ineffective. Your breakthrough revealed that you possess alchemical abilities that operate on both spiritual and material levels. You can take the base metals of spiritual attack and transform them into the gold of divine advancement. You can take the lead of curses and convert them into the silver of blessings. You can take the iron of false prophecies and refine them into the platinum of true destiny. This alchemical mastery means that nothing can be sent against you that won't ultimately work for your benefit. Every attack becomes raw material for your advancement. Every curse becomes fuel for your blessing. Every false prophecy becomes evidence of your true calling. You've become a spiritual recycling center where negative energy gets processed into positive momentum. You've become a cosmic refinery where crude attacks get transformed into refined blessings. You've become a divine manufacturing plant where enemy weapons get converted into kingdom tools. This is why your enemies are starting to avoid you altogether. They're beginning to realize that attacking you doesn't hurt you, it helps you. Every assault they launch against your life comes back to them as evidence of your divine protection and your supernatural ability to transform curses into blessings. With false prophecies destroyed and your spiritual voice activated, you now have the authority to speak your own future into existence. You're no longer subject to other people's declarations about your destiny. You're the prophet of your own life, speaking divine truth over your circumstances with the authority of someone who has been personally commissioned by heaven. Your words now carry creative power that shapes reality according to divine purpose. When you speak blessings, they manifest with supernatural speed. When you declare breakthrough, obstacles dissolve without resistance. When your prophecy increases, abundance flows from unexpected sources. When you pronounce victory, defeat becomes impossible. This prophetic authority means you're no longer waiting for someone else to give you permission to succeed. You're no longer hoping someone else will speak good things over your life. You're no longer depending on external validation to confirm your worth. You speak your own validation. You declare your own value. You prophesy your own success. The false prophets who tried to speak limitation over your life have lost all credibility in the spiritual realm. Their words carry no weight in cosmic court. Their declarations have no authority in divine jurisprudence. Their predictions have no power in heavenly legislation. Your breakthrough wasn't just about breaking free from spiritual bondage. It was about breaking through to spiritual dimensions that most people never access in their lifetime. You're now operating in realms of consciousness where the normal rules of limitation, lack, and failure simply don't apply. In these higher dimensions, abundance is the default setting, success is the natural outcome, favor is the automatic response, blessing is the standard experience, victory is the inevitable result. You're not fighting to achieve these things anymore. You're fighting to maintain them against forces that want to pull you back down to lower dimensions. This dimensional shift explains why your perspective on everything has changed so dramatically. You're seeing situations from heaven's viewpoint instead of earth's viewpoint. You're understanding circumstances from eternity's perspective instead of time's perspective. You're evaluating opportunities from infinity's vantage point instead of limitation's narrow vision. People operating in lower dimensions can't understand your decision-making process anymore because they don't have access to the information you're receiving from higher realms. They think you're taking crazy risks when you're actually making calculated moves based on intelligence they can't perceive. The spells, curses, and false prophecies you broke weren't just affecting your present circumstances. They were also contaminating your legacy and limiting what you could pass down to future generations. But your breakthrough didn't just clear your current reality. It established a spiritual inheritance that will benefit people connected to your bloodline for generations to come. You've created a legacy of freedom where previous generations created legacies of bondage. You've established patterns of breakthrough where previous generations established patterns of limitation. You've built spiritual infrastructure that will support supernatural success where previous generations built structures that supported supernatural struggle. Your children won't have to fight the battles you fought because you already won those wars. Your grandchildren won't have to break the curses you broke because you already shattered those spiritual chains. Your great-grandchildren won't have to overcome the limitations you overcame because you already demolished those spiritual barriers. This legacy creation means your breakthrough has significance that extends far beyond your personal experience. You're not just changing your own story. You're rewriting your family's story. You're not just altering your own destiny. You're establishing your bloodline's destiny. You're not just securing your own future. You're guaranteeing your lineage's future. Your breakthrough has unlocked access to levels of consciousness that operate beyond the limitations of ordinary human awareness. You're no longer confined to processing reality through the filter of past programming or future anxieties. You're operating from a state of expanded consciousness that perceives solutions before problems fully manifest and sees opportunities before circumstances make them obvious. This consciousness expansion means you're receiving downloads of wisdom that bypass traditional learning methods. You understand complex situations instantly. You grasp hidden connections effortlessly. You perceive underlying patterns automatically. Your mind has been upgraded from basic operating software to premium divine intelligence that processes information at supernatural speeds. You're making decisions with clarity that comes from having direct access to infinite wisdom. You're solving problems with creativity that flows from being connected to unlimited divine intelligence. You're navigating challenges with confidence that springs from knowing you have supernatural backup for every situation you encounter. The most significant aspect of your breakthrough is the activation of spiritual authority that was dormant in your consciousness until now. This isn't just confidence or self-assurance. This is actual divine authority that carries the backing of cosmic law and universal order. When you speak with this authority, spiritual realms respond. When you move with this authority, obstacles dissolve. When you operate from this authority, resistance collapses. Your voice now carries frequencies that command attention from both visible and invisible realms. Your presence creates atmospheric shifts that change the spiritual climate of every environment you enter. Your declarations establish new realities that override previous limitations and restrictions that once seemed permanent and unchangeable. This authority activation means you're no longer asking permission to be great. You're no longer seeking approval to pursue your calling. You're no longer waiting for validation to step into your destiny. You operate from divine authorization that supersedes human opinion, social expectation, and conventional limitation. People sense this authority even when you're not consciously projecting it. Your energy field communicates your elevated spiritual status before you speak a single word. Your countenance reflects your connection to higher powers before you take any action. Your very presence announces that you operate under divine covering that makes you untouchable to spiritual enemies. With spells broken, curses reversed, and false prophecies destroyed, you now have a clean slate to construct reality according to divine blueprint rather than enemy interference. You're not just returning to your previous life with problems removed. You're building an entirely new existence that reflects your true spiritual identity and divine potential. This reality reconstruction process involves rewriting the fundamental assumptions that govern your daily experience. You're establishing new default settings for how abundance flows into your life, how favor operates on your behalf, how success manifests through your efforts, and how blessings multiply through your influence. Your new reality operates on upgraded spiritual laws that make the impossible possible and the improbable inevitable. Miracles become commonplace experiences rather than rare exceptions. Supernatural provision becomes standard rather than occasional. Divine intervention becomes expected rather than hoped for. You're constructing your new world with materials that were previously inaccessible to your consciousness. You're building with resources that were locked away behind spiritual barriers that no longer exist. You're designing with creativity that flows from unlimited divine imagination rather than limited human perspective. Your spiritual transformation has fundamentally altered your energetic signature, creating a magnetic attraction that draws divine connections, supernatural opportunities, and kingdom resources into your orbit. You're no longer chasing after what you need. What you need is being drawn to you by the spiritual magnetism that radiates from your transformed consciousness. This magnetic attraction operates on multiple levels simultaneously. You're attracting people who carry keys to doors you need opened. You're attracting opportunities that match your expanded capacity for impact. You're attracting resources that support your enlarged vision for influence. You're attracting circumstances that accelerate your advancement toward divine destiny. The same spiritual laws that once worked against you are now working for you with equal intensity but opposite direction. The energy that once repelled blessings from your life now attracts blessings to your life. The frequency that once blocked opportunities from reaching you now broadcasts opportunities directly to your location. You don't have to strain or struggle to attract what belongs to you. Your transformed spiritual state creates an automatic attraction field that pulls your divine inheritance into your experience without effort or manipulation. What's meant for you recognizes you and moves toward you by spiritual law rather than human effort. Your breakthrough has activated what can only be described as prophetic acceleration, where divine timing compresses to deliver multiple breakthrough experiences in rapid succession. Dreams that were projected to manifest over years are materializing in significantly shorter timeframes. Visions that seemed distant are becoming present realities with supernatural speed. This acceleration occurs because spiritual interference was artificially extending the timeline for your breakthrough experiences. With that interference removed, divine timing can operate at its natural pace, which is significantly faster than human expectation or natural law would suggest possible. You're experiencing quantum leaps in spiritual development, exponential growth in material provision, and supernatural advancement in relational connections. Each day brings progress that previously would have required extended periods to achieve. Each week produces results that formerly would have demanded much longer seasons to realize. Your breakthrough reveals the ultimate truth that changes everything about how you understand your identity, your purpose, and your power. You weren't just someone who overcame spiritual opposition. You were always the answer to the spiritual opposition that plagued your bloodline for generations. You weren't just a victim who got delivered. You were always the deliverer who was sent to liberate your entire genetic line from spiritual bondage. The spells are broken, but your power is activated. The curses are reversed, but your blessings are multiplied. The false prophecies are silenced, but your true destiny is speaking louder than ever before. This is your moment. This is your time. This is your season, and absolutely nothing in heaven, earth, or hell can stop what's coming next in your life, because you just broke every spell, curse, and false prophecy projected over your life, and in doing so you discovered that you were never the target. You were always the weapon,